Hi guys, in this video we'll be looking at the overall modding process. So the first and easiest step to the whole process is deciding on what changes you want to make or what you want to implement. For the sake of following the process, we're following new content simply because change to content picks up at a certain point in the process line. Right, so to start with, the first thing that you would need to do if you wanted to introduce some new content is create the models and animations for this content. Um, in this case, just as a demo file, I have here the infantry model for Pacific Thunder's Japanese soldier. It doesn't require any animations because it uses Relic's bone structure, and because it uses Relic's bone structure, it can piggyback off of Relic's animations. That's something that will be explained in more detail in some of the advanced videos, but it makes life a lot easier basically. So once you have a textured model that's been animated if needed, it's ready to be imported to the stage where it can be modified using Object Editor. Let's see what we have here. Let's just go with the infantry. And so once your new content's been modeled and the base animations have been created, it comes into this program here, which is the Object Editor. Basically, the whole point of the Object Editor is it sets up motion trees, and it sets up the in this case there's no motion tree because it piggybacks off of another animation tree, but basically you'd set all the requirements for your different animations. So for this, in the case of a vehicle or a well, in particular a tank, something with a turret, it would have you create a horizontal animation for the turret, and you'd create a vertical animation for the barrel. In here, you would use a horizontal and a vertical variable to control how much of that animation is played, which gives you that movement. Then in the engine, it specifies based on the position of the target, it'll specify what the horizontal and vertical variables need to be at, and that's all explained later. In here you can set stuff like mesh visibility. So here I can I have a random setup to determine whether this soldier has a helmet or not. I have it set up to determine random variation. So there's heaps and heaps of funky little things you can do with the Object Editor, but everything here is basically visual. Any effects you add, everything like that, it's all completely visual, and is controlled further within the engine itself, and all set up through Cool6 later on. So once you've got all your basic states and variables that you want assigned here in the Object Editor, it gets exported again, and it comes into Cool6. At present I don't have anything specific for this mod imported. I may have the infantry file here. Should have had it loaded before I started recording. Here we go. So then the model ends up in here somewhere. No, I don't have it imported. Okay, so it ends up in here somewhere amongst all the other Relic models, and from there you end up with your model and your RGO and its textures, all in a neat little folder structure, and then it's assigned a active blueprint. And basically this just says I want this mesh and this mesh and this mesh to be all together at once. Basically just lets you combine multiple models together as you can see here, you say, okay, we want the engineer model. The engineer needs a grease gun. They also need the flamethrower. And then these up here are just the motion trees, all the animations for infantry themselves. So they've said, okay, we've got the engineer model, got the grease gun model, we've got the flamethrower model, and we've got the animations for them as well. So once your new visual content is in, it then comes up to attributes area, where it's assigned as an entity. So for this you would create a new entity, or you'd reassign an entity, and basically it comes up here as a animator under an active blueprint on the entity blueprint, and from there it now has an entity. It can be assigned as a squad, or it can be used as a prop or a projectile or a piece of the environment. And then from here, you can there's so many different ways you can go with this. You can change what weapons that particular entity has. You can create a squad with those entities. From there, it's basically moving into being a lot more specific about its role. It's where you assign all its values and everything like that. Then once you've assigned everything within Corsics, it basically moves into your actual mod. And from there you can obviously see the changes that you've made, go back, make some more changes until you're finally happy with the end result. And then you're basically, once you're happy with all the changes you've made and you've made all the changes you want to make, then you're basically ready for testing phase. And depending on the size of your mod, depending on what your long-term goals are, that's potentially release beta testing. For a larger scale mod, this can obviously take a fair bit of time. Creating a large number of assets and lots of changes can be take quite a long time. Normally you'll find that you have people who specifically work in the mod studio rather than modeling, and you'll have people who specifically only model and animate. And basically you need to diversify your diversify your team if you choose to have one. So you can break each part of the process down to a different person's job, and it makes life a lot easier. So that's a very rough view at the whole modding process. It can seem a little bit simple. It's only 4 or 5 steps, but when you start expanding on those steps, that's when it starts becoming a lot of work. So yeah, thanks for watching, and the next episodes will be a lot more specific, covering entity blueprints, basically just what they are, what each of these mean, all that sort of jazz. Thanks for watching.